Ciao, konnichiwa. It's your boy M.K.S here back in another video. Ciao, namaste, konnichiwa, hey, hi, hey, hola, whatever the words, whatever greetings. Um, it's your boy M.K.S here back in another video. I'm just going to check I'm live on Facebook as well. This time Facebook didn't let me down like it did in part one. But on that note, welcome to part two of Asian entrepreneurs' businesses across Asia. I think organization. I put and so forth, meaning like I'm stuck in two minds as to whether just talk about entrepreneurs, business people, business owners, or whatnot, business organisations. Initially, I was thinking of talking about businesses like Reliance Industries, Toyota, Tata, Alibaba, and those sorts of companies. Samsung, Toyota, I think I said Toyota, Honda, Hyundai, and whatnot. But I thought to talk about organisations and associations which could hopefully financially empower Asia, but also mainly in business. Also, like I suppose I could talk about YouTubers and TikTokers, which I suppose I will talk about. I'm not going to give too much away now, but we had a bit of a storm. I don't know if it's gone because it seems to come back. I'm a bit nervous. I'm a bit of a chicken. Sorry, I do the sound effects. I remember my stepdad's got a farm in. Well, stepdad's family's got a farm in Tunisia. I don't know if they still hold on, if they still held on to it. But I used to. My step grandma used to apparently really like it when I used to go back when I went past the chickens and all that kind of thing on my bike. Side note. But yeah, these are pointers number 11 to 20. I'm hoping whether we'll get that. It looks really weird. Like the sky looks kind of nice in some parts, cloudy in other parts. That kind of thing. But I've heard a bit of thunder now. I don't want to speak too soon. I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to speak too soon. I was saying jinx it or whatever. I guess same sort of thing. But I was saying like I haven't really seen rain yet, and I haven't seen any lightning just yet. God willing, Godspeed, I won't. But I fear God's angry when I hear thunder and see lightning and all that kind of thing. But or bad weather generally. But hopefully he or she they will prove me wrong. I went for a walk, and it took me so long to get ready to go for a walk. I could hear the bit of thunder just as I was about to leave. I was like, typical. All that time when the sky was blue, and I struggled to have the energy and motivation and whatever to go for a walk. Much I love walking. And to make decisions. I've been indecisive and all that kind of thing as usual. And then when I try and go, all the lovely sky, although it still looked nice in some parts, and I'm hoping it will brighten up and all the storm will calm ASAP and go away. I hope the storm will pee off, basically. God willing and Godspeed, even though I'm not hugely religious, but I believe that in God out of paranoia and hope and fear rather than hope, but hopefully God will prove me wrong. I have to think like, what if God proves their existence not through threats or fears, but through supporting my goals or people's goals generally, like that, something like that, or doing good things, I guess. It's really confusing. God's supposed to be good, but seems to be a lot of bad things. But I hope God will forgive us. Anyway, I'm talking a lot about God, but here goes. So, number 11, I was thinking about inventors, innovators, investors, and that kind of thing. And I'd love to find out as many about, maybe in the future, maybe in August or sometime in the future, maybe in June, in fact, June or August, or if not this year, maybe in next year, either in April, May, June, or August. Obviously, this year, April's gone, and pretty much May's gone. I've already got some plans for the rest of the videos I want to cover, contents I want to cover, and that kind of thing, or whatever. But yeah, I'd love to do like a list of 40 inventors. I was thinking of things about like celebrating Asia's inventors and their inventions. Asians, finding out about Asians' inventions and their inventors, whichever way you want to put it. Similar with their innovators, investors, and whatnot. Ideas people, I suppose, the same sort of thing as entrepreneurs, perhaps in a way, although they're also action takers. But anyway, also I was going to say, I think for point number 7, I suppose I was going to say, but I forgot. I think I meant to mention about Celtic. I can't remember. Oh, I did, but I don't. I did mean to mention it, but I don't know if I mentioned about, just like I'd love for, and I know I talked about on last Friday, the partnership between Italian football, between Celtic and Asia and other Asians to invest into, sponsor, support, and follow and whatnot, and have academies and sports clubs, CSC, Celtic sports clubs across Asia, and that kind of thing. But also, I was thinking God to prove their existence in a good way, not prove illnesses, diseases, natural disasters, all that kind of thing, but like. Some people might say this is selfish of me to say, but like through supporting my works. But if God could help a twit like me, TWIT that is, TWIT, or maybe both, I don't know. But if God could help someone as foolish as me to create, I'm thinking of twit because it's Tuesday with my silly patterns, someone like me with my established patterns and ideas and poor punctuation and handwriting and that kind of thing. If God could help me to become a writer, a published writer and that kind of thing, an author, writer, or whatever the difference is, and that kind of thing, it'd be pretty amazing. That would be a positive miracle, or things like helping the poor or whatever. But I don't know what you think about that. But yeah, sorry, I almost forgot to say, I hope I pronounce this right because I struggle with pronunciation at the best of times, even with English pronunciation. But Japanese guy Satoshi Tajiri, who is the inventor of Pokemon. He used to collect bugs, and apparently that's how he got the idea for Pokemon. But there's speculation that he is autistic. I don't know if that's true or not. I did assume it was true, but then I read on Google there's no confirmation. So he's neither denied or confirmed that. But I was thinking he could be an example of an Asian person with autism. Well, if he does have autism, people say his traits and obsessions could be autistic traits or obsessions. But I don't know if he's been officially diagnosed. There might have to be more criteria or whatever. But initially, till I read in Google that he may or may not be, I assumed that he was, but I read it somewhere, so I don't know how true that is. But people say there's autistic traits that he has, and I was thinking about the reason why I mention that is because of Asian nations, perhaps looking down on neurodivergent people who learn and think differently, who are a bit unique or whatever, whether that's with dyslexia, ADHD, or autism or whatever. So if he is autistic, and if other people like that are autistic, like Jack Ma has autism, Amtrak, or ADHD, or Amtrak, or dyslexia, or whatever, even one or two or a range of those conditions or whatever, he could be an inspiration for people with such conditions. I suppose he is already an inspiration because normally in Asian communities, if you don't do well at school and you can't get a job, you're sort of ostracized. So I guess, I'm glad my mum gave up on me, but on a serious note, she does sometimes, actually, but not very often. On a serious note, I don't want to jinx it. It shows what Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba, shows what you can do with persistence, and given that I suppose lack of giving up. Like, he failed to get a job at KFC, as I mentioned in part one. You can see his stories; they're quite inspiring. As I say, with all these sort of names and that kind of thing, I hope to encourage people to find out about these companies. And yeah, I wasn't sure whether to include the founders as I did last week. And I know I'm trying to focus more on Asia, so that's one of the differences between these videos and last week's videos. And I still haven't finished part 4 of that, or whether to focus on the companies themselves, as they Reliance Industries, Toyota, Tata, and all that kind of thing, Honda, and whatnot, Hyundai, how you pronounce it. But yeah, I'd say it would be interesting to find people with neurodivergent conditions who have done well. But I think it's important to inspire others, and like people who don't believe in neurodivergent people across Asia. I'd love to raise awareness of neurodiversity across Asia itself and Asian communities and whatnot. But moving on to number 12. So this one, to be honest, I've decided not to involve or include one specific name, a specific Asian entrepreneurial name, but rather more general entrepreneurs, and like have a homage to Asian entrepreneurs and innovators, ideas people, inventors, investors, and whatnot. So what they've achieved, and that kind of thing. So entrepreneurs generally, and I'd love for you to list, actually come to think of any entrepreneurs you can think of from Asia. And again, I think it'd be great to find out any neurodivergent entrepreneurs. I hope I can read some of my writing. I sort of squished writing and sort of being a bit tight and stingy with the paper, I guess, as one of my uncles would say. Some people say, why are you so stingy with the paper, or whatever. He used to say, why he's stingy, don't be stingy with the paper. I didn't understand what he meant, but I don't know if that's a dyspraxia thing or whatever. But anyway, individuals and organisations and businesses, associations and whatnot that contribute to Asia's economies, and almost forgot to say, like the diaspora, what they could achieve and accomplish for Asia, connected with the diaspora, which I'm saying diaspora, or however you pronounce it, and yeah, general homage to such. And I'd love to find out more about neurodivergent entrepreneurs from Asian backgrounds and how to show what neurodivergent people can do, whether that's dyslexics, ADHDs, autistics, dyspraxics, or whatever, what we can do more than what we can't do. I know you could say that generally, but as I'm focusing on Asia, maybe I've heard of one or two Asian entrepreneurs with dyslexia, at least one or two. But I imagine if you're like ostracized and you don't do it academically, you can easily give up. So I imagine it's probably harder for people with neurodivergent conditions in most Asian communities. But it'd be great to raise awareness, whether that's in the diaspora or whatever, and stroke or across Asia itself. And I love for Asians to mentor others, especially neurodivergent Asians from around the world, to go to maybe teach and train people, young people with neurodivergent conditions. So I've heard of a dyslexic entrepreneur called Shiv, who's of Indian background. Maybe he could go to, I can't remember his surname, but he could go to, he was on a video on Power Dis, I think it's called Dis Power or something, Power Dis, I think about the power of dyslexic thing or whatever. And he could go to mentor people in Asia if he wanted to, as an example, including India, or maybe across Asia. And again, entrepreneurs with neurodivergent conditions can mentor their fellow neurodivergent people in Asia if they want to. It's an idea, a suggestion. I'd love to travel with them in the future and help people with neurodivergent conditions. Sorry, it's a little pattern of mine. I'm writing it again. Sorry. Number 13. I normally think of a negative thing, like the storm we've been having recently. Hoping it goes away, as I say. Hoping the storm gets lost, as I say. But sorry. Once again, I haven't thought of a specific name or business or organisation, but I wanted to ask the question, like, what are any specific challenges or problems that Asians, especially in Asia itself, face in business? Maybe addressing those challenges, it could help to resolve them, to solve them, or whatever. Number 14, I guess on that note, I haven't written this in my notes, but I was saying on that note that by addressing those issues, like for instance, let's say Indonesia has certain things which makes it harder to run a business. They could learn from other Asian nations or even other nations generally and say, what could we do to help entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial development? Obviously, entrepreneurship is a risk. There's no guarantee it's going to work or whatever, I'm sure. But if you put the effort in, some might say you can make it work eventually. As I call it, fail your way to success. But in addressing it, they can solve those problems, perhaps. And maybe Central Asian nations, which I think of like an Asian alliance, which I hope would promote Pan-Asianism, could talk about solving problems together, whether that's through STEM, science, tech, engineering, maths, or either of those, or two or three, or even all four of those areas, or in business, which I suppose people say business is about solving problems, thinking about what problems exist, whether that's in Asia or wherever else in the world. Asian entrepreneurs can think about that, whether it's problems that exist in their own nation or across Asia or around the world, I'd say. But yeah, Central Asia could perhaps host groups that help to make it easier to do business. And for number 14 as well, I thought of organisations. Again, I haven't thought of a specific business. I would say like Reliance Industries, Toyota, Tata, or whoever else, Samsung or whoever. Maybe they could look at how to put some of their money into as part of PR or whatever, or even to help them grow their economies. For instance, Samsung could say, we're going to spend 1% or even up to 10% of our budget of our profits in helping develop entrepreneurship in Japan or across Asia, and they can get tax deals for doing so. Maybe organisations could get tax deals for supporting entrepreneurship, especially amongst young people, and helping them to take that risk, help them with funding. And I suppose if it doesn't work, they could try it into the works. I suppose that's a bit of a risk, but I specifically for this one, as I say, didn't put a specific business or whatever, but I was thinking about organisations which could help entrepreneurship and that kind of generally. So I put the ADB, the Asian Development Bank, and the Asia Foundation, which supports entrepreneurship. Number 15, I'm going to try and read my own writing. Aspen Network, the Aspen Network for the development of entrepreneurs, and it's got the acronym ANDE, Aspen Network for the Development of Entrepreneurs, which I think is not just based in Asia. I think it's actually based in America, but they supposedly help entrepreneurs in developing nations. There's also the Asia Council, again, Asia Council for Small Business, and there is the EO, Entrepreneurial Organization for Asia, if I read my own writing right. And I wish to, let's say, pay homage to and salute all the associations and organisations which help and support entrepreneurial development, entrepreneurship, and that kind of thing, basically, in and for and around and across Asia. Number 16, what things, again, initially I was just going to list different businesses across Asia. But I guess people could always Google them anyway. But I've decided to change it a bit to say, I know I'm very indecisive, but I thought it would be better perhaps to maybe you can let me know whether you agree with me or not, to talk about like what, in this case, what things could be done to help um, basically support and benefit generally Asians in business, especially in Asia itself, again connecting with the diaspora and that kind of thing. Number 17, the Adani Group. There's Mukesh Ambani, the CEO of Reliance Industries. I think that's India's biggest business. I could be wrong. I'm not sure if it's them or Tata. Um, the Adani Group, which is a big business, of course, and he's one of Asia's richest people, Adani, and Gautam Adani. If I pronounce it right. I'm half Indian, but I do struggle to pronounce even English names, I'll say, or words in my own name, perhaps. So, but yeah, there was a reported scandal by a group called the Hildenberg Group or something, which claimed there were some sort of dodgy sort of things where they were said to falsify their accounts or whatever. But I don't know whether that's been proven true or not. I think this group is called out to be a bit corrupt itself. Maybe it's trying to bring Indian or Asian businesses down to sort of compete with American ones. Perhaps they could be exposed themselves. I'm not sure be careful to say. I think a lot of Indian channels, news channels on YouTube, like Why On, Republic World especially, and groups like that talk about them being corrupt. Not sure if the Times of India or India Today or Hindustan Times mentioned about the Hindenburg Group, but I guess the Adani Group has seemingly survived that scandal because I think it hasn't affected their business too much. I don't think, although they did lose a lot of their stock price for a while, but I assume they've probably been found not guilty of some of those falsifying accounts or whatever they've been accused of. But yeah, yeah, hopefully they don't do anything untoward and hopefully they do everything legally and above board, which is what I always encourage. Number 18, to be honest, I'm struggling to think positively. I guess the storm also made me struggle to think positively. I often think about what could go wrong or things like that. I'm a bit of a pessimist, to be fair. But I'm hoping to be proven wrong and see that Asian YouTubers, TikTokers, entrepreneurs, technologists, and whatnot, inventors, investors, and whatnot could help to build and grow their economy, help to develop their nations and even the continent generally, and hopefully build Pan-Asianism and build lots of positive things. It would be great to see what Asian businesses are building, especially in Asia itself, are building positive things, and again, maybe connecting with the diaspora to build positive things for Asia and for the rest of the world, perhaps as well. What Asians could invent for the rest of the world, for instance. Yeah, struggling to read my writing. Number 19, I thought, I suppose I could have read about Asian YouTubers or TikTokers, but as I was struggling to organise my time and all that kind of thing, and again, I guess people could always Google that themselves if you want to. Hint, hint. My attention span is not the strongest, and my organisational thing, and once again, to the as you could probably tell. But yeah, I wanted to pay homage to the many Asian YouTubers, TikTokers, again, inventors, investors, entrepreneurs, ideas people who benefit their nations in Asia, and people who benefit the economy and that kind of thing across Asia. And I'd love to find a list of the top YouTubers in Asia. I wonder if they monetize their channels, could they benefit the whole economy through YouTube, TikTok, and whatnot, content creation and that kind of thing. I suppose you have to have quite a few views just to make a fair bit of money. So I don't know how much difference that would make to the economy, but what do you think? I'd love to know. Hopefully it won't be too harsh. Some people might say you really don't want to know what I think. But yeah, hopefully it won't be too harsh. Any haters out there. But yeah, I'm not big enough to have any haters, maybe. I don't know. Some say if you have haters, that's good because it means you stood up for something. I don't know if I agree or not. But yeah, technologists as well. Again, inventors, ideas people, investors, entrepreneurs, and people who contribute to Asian nations or even the continent itself. I'd love to find out more about those in the future. I hope to encourage more people to do that sort of thing in the future. Hopefully the weather will go nice and be nice blue, calm even skies here in Britain again, and especially across Asia. Ideally, I'm hoping for anyway. But yeah, I think I'm going to wrap this up. So as ever, I took about twice as long as planned. But I'd love to know what you think. And if you can think of any entrepreneurs, if you made it this far, please list any Asian innovators, ideas, people, entrepreneurs, investors, YouTubers, TikTokers, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm out, and peace and love.